Antarctica is home to numerous secrets and unusual occurrences, and today I'm revealing 15 of the strangest happenings in Antarctica. Starting with number 15, the Blood Falls. Antarctica's Blood Falls is one of the most intriguing and mysterious natural phenomenon on Earth. This 5-story blood-red waterfall flows slowly out of the Taylor Glacier in the McMurdo Dry Valleys. Scientists and explorers are fascinated by it. When geologists first discovered the frozen waterfall in 1911, they thought its red color came from algae, but the true nature turned out to be much more spectacular and complex. Around 2 million years ago, the Taylor Glacier sealed a small body of water beneath it, trapping an ancient community of microbes. These microbes have remained isolated under a thick layer of ice ever since, living in a natural time capsule. A fissure in the glacier allows the subglacial lake to flow out, forming the walls without contaminating the unique ecosystem within. The conditions in the trapped lake are pretty, suggesting that life could potentially exist in smaller extreme conditions elsewhere in the universe. However, while the discovery of the Blood Falls shows that life can survive under such conditions on Earth, it doesn't confirm that extraterrestrial life exists. Any such life would have to arise from a completely different set of circumstances. Number 14, the Promachocrinus. Imagine a creature straight out of a sci-fi horror film, a strawberry-shaped sea star with 20 waving arms lurking in the depths of the ocean. This eerie vision is not fiction, but a real discovery that brings a thrilling mystery to life. While its appearance may seem otherworldly and unsettling, the truth behind the Antarctic strawberry feather star, Promachocrinus fragarius, is not as terrifying as it seems, though it remains a strange find. The Antarctic strawberry feather star is part of a genus which now includes 8 species, with this particular one adding to the recent discoveries from the Southern Ocean. Despite covering more than 2 meters, giving the creature its distinct and somewhat eerie appearance. It's named after the Latin word for strawberry, fragarium, due to the strawberry resembling nub on its body. Its arms, much longer and feathery than those of its relatives, point upwards, contrasting with the cirri that point downward. This unique morphology allows the creature to navigate the cold, dark waters of its habitat with elegance. Number 13, the Buache Map. Imagine stumbling upon a map that challenges everything that we know about Antarctica. This is the intrigue surrounding the Buache Map, an 18th century map that some claim accurately depicts Antarctica before it was buried by ice. This suggests that an ancient civilization mapped Antarctica in its ice-free state, with the Buache Map serving as evidence of their advanced knowledge. Named after French geographer Philippe Buache de la Neuville, the Buache Map is often said to have been published in 1737, but it is dated September 3, 1739. The claim that it's not enough to definitively compare it with this map. Additionally, there are notable differences between the Buache Map and the Piri-Reis Map, another map purported to show an ice-free Antarctica. Closer examination of this map reveals clues that challenge ancient civilization theories. The map contains French legends with terms like conjecture and soupçonner on parts of the southern continent, suggesting that Buache was hypothesizing rather than copying an ancient map. These legends indicate that Buache was speculating about the existence of a southern landmass based on reports from contemporary explorers such as Jean-Baptiste Charles Bouvet de Lozière, who observed many icebergs during his southern voyages. Number 12, tabular icebergs. So imagine an iceberg that appears to have been meticulously carved into a perfect rectangle, an almost otherworldly sight amidst the chaotic beauty of nature. This is precisely what NASA scientists spotted floating near the Larsen C ice shelf in Antarctica. This iceberg looks nothing like it out into the ocean. It loses support from the ice shelf, making it susceptible to breaking off due to tides or strong winds. But what about those remarkably straight lines and sharp angles? Could this mean it was made by aliens? Well, Petty compares the breakage to a glass plate shattering. When the stress causes the ice to crack, it often does so along straight lines. This rectangular iceberg spotted by NASA is about a mile wide, a significant but not extraordinary size compared to other icebergs from the Larsen C shelf. For instance, a much larger iceberg known as A68 calved from the same ice shelf in 2017 and covered an area of about 2,200 square miles. Number 11, ancient meteorites. Believe it or not, Antarctica may just be the closest thing to space on Earth. Does that make sense? Well, it will soon. Antarctica is a meteorite hotspot unlike any other on Earth. Since the discovery of the Adelaide Land meteorite in 1912, scientists have retrieved over 45,000 meteorites from the Antarctic. Preserved meteorites, some of which have lain undisturbed for over 1,000,000 years. However, the sheer size of Antarctica, 5.4 million square miles, poses a considerable challenge for those seeking these small, scattered relics. To improve their chances, scientists focus their efforts on meteorite stranding zones. These are areas where the local geology, ice flow, and climate conditions combine to concentrate meteorites on the surface. Traditionally, these zones were discovered by chance or through painstaking analysis of maps and satellite images, particularly those showing blue ice, which lacks snow cover and allows meteorites to remain visible. It is such a hotspot that various space programs have teamed up with both each other and experts to help map out where these meteorites may pop up. In early 2023, researchers made an exciting discovery, uncovering one of the heaviest meteorites ever found in Antarctica. On the Niels Larsen Blue Ice Zone near the Belgian-owned Princess Elizabeth Antarctic Station, they discovered a small horde of meteorites, including a standout specimen weighing specimen in Antarctica takes that to a whole new level. Found by Antarctic conservators, this well-preserved cake was part of Robert Falcon Scott's Terra Nova expedition of 1910. Despite its age, the fruitcake remains in surprisingly good condition, testing the boundaries of the treat's renowned longevity. The cake, made by Huntley and Palmer's, was wrapped in paper and stored in an iron alloy tin, which deteriorated over time. However, the cake itself is remarkably intact. Lizzie Meek, program manager at the Antarctic Heritage Trust, noted that, quote, "There was a very, very slight rancid butter smell to it, but other than that, the cake looked and smelled edible," end quote. She credited the extreme cold of Antarctica for the cake's preservation. Fruitcake's enduring popularity among Antarctic explorers is well documented. Its high energy contents make it an ideal food for the extreme conditions of the continent, and modern-day explorers still favor it on trips to the ice. It is known that folks working outdoors in Antarctica offers a fascinating glimpse into the past and highlights the resilience of both the explorers and the provisions they relied upon. Number 9. The Void. So there's a giant void lurking beneath the Antarctic ice, growing larger and more menacing by the day, as revealed by a new study using satellite data. This colossal cavity, about 2/3 the area of Manhattan and nearly 1,000 feet tall, is expanding under the Thwaites Glacier in West Antarctica. The void is rapidly enabling ice to melt above it, posing a significant threat to global sea level. The cavity is large enough to have once held 15 billion tons of ice, much of which have melted over the past 3 years, according to NASA. We found the void thanks to a new generation of satellites, part of NASA's Operation Ice Bridge, which have ice-penetrating radar. And additionally, data from the Italian and German spacecraft equipped with radar instruments reveals substantial ground shifts from 1992 to 2017. Experts have found processes and features in detail. Now, interestingly, the glacier is not melting uniformly. This enormous void located under the glacier's western side, further away from the western Antarctic peninsula, is exposed to the ebb and flow of the tide, causing the ice at the grounding line to retreat and advance over a region 2 to 3 miles long. However, recent trends show more retreat than advancement, with the glacier retreating at a rate of less than a mile annually since 1992. This high retreat rate has led to an unsettling high melt rate on this part of the glacier, particularly on the western side where the void is located. Number 8. The Endurance. Sir Ernest Shackleton's lost Endurance shipwreck was discovered at the bottom of Antarctica's Weddell Sea. While this isn't an ancient discovery, its historical significance is immense. In 1914, Sir Ernest Shackleton launched the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, aiming to sail from the Weddell Sea to the South Pole and onward to the Ross Sea, a month after the 100th anniversary of Sir Ernest's death. The Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust announced via the Endurance 22 website that Sir Ernest Shackleton's famous wooden ship was discovered at a depth of 9,868 feet. Marine archaeologists say that the Antarctic circumpolar current served as a barrier to the larvae that would otherwise have devoured the ship. In 1915, when Shackleton and his 28-man crew embarked on the first crossing of Antarctica, Endurance became trapped in dense pack ice. The crew had no option but to abandon the ship, and was finally crushed and sank on November 21, 1915. According to the Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust, the wreck has been protected as a historic site and monument under the Antarctic Treaty, meaning that the Endurance shipwreck can be surveyed and filmed, but cannot be touched. Menson Bound, the expedition leader, described the wreck as upright, well proud of the seabed, intact, and in a brilliant state of preservation. The word endurance is still visible across the stern. Additionally, the Antarctic circumpolar current acts as a natural barrier, preventing organisms that typically consume wood from even reaching the wreck. Moving on to number 7, fossilized forests. There was a time, long ago, when Antarctica was a region full of lush green life. 100 million years ago, the Earth was in the grip of an extreme greenhouse effect. The polar ice caps had all but melted. In the south, rainforests inhabited by dinosaurs existed in their place. These Antarctic ecosystems were adapted to the long months of winter darkness that occurred at the poles and were truly bizarre. But if global warming continues unabated, could these ancient forests be a taste of things to come? One of the first people to uncover evidence of a once greener Antarctic was the explorer Robert Falcon Scott. Toiling back from the South Pole in 1912, he stumbled over fossil plants on the Beardmore Glacier at 82 degrees south. The extra weight of these specimens. Now, these fossils proved to be remains of stunted bushes of beech. Only 3 to 5 million years old, they were some of the last plants to have lived on the continent before the deep freeze set in. Now, possibly the weirdest and most baffling feature of the polar forests was their adaptation to the Antarctic light regime. Near the pole, night reigns all winter long, while in the summer the sun shines even at midnight. David Bierling of the University of Sheffield and author of Emerald Planet explained the challenge that Antarctic trees must have faced in this unusual environment. Quote, "During prolonged periods of warm winter darkness, trees consume their food store," he said, "and if this goes on for too long, they will eventually starve." Visiting the frozen wasteland of Antarctica today, it is hard to believe that rainforests haunted by small dinosaurs once flourished where 3-kilometer thick ice sheets now exist. However, the geological record provides irrefutable evidence that dramatic climate fluctuations have occurred throughout our planet, according to study leader Jörg Ebbing, a geoscientist at Kiel University in Germany. The findings help reveal fundamental facts about the Earth's tectonics and how Antarctica's lands and ice sheets interact. Because the continent is so remote and buried in ice, Antarctica is a bit of a blank spot on the geological map, Ebbing said. Researchers use data from the European Space Agency's Gravity Field and Steady-State Ocean Circulation Explorer satellite to fill in the blanks. The satellite orbited Earth from 2009 to 2013, gathering data on the planet's gravity field. Gravity's pull does differ very slightly from one point on Earth to another, depending on changes in topography and the density of the planet's interior. By measuring these changes, this satellite provided the data to make a full gravity map of the planet. Ebbing and his team used other satellite data to virtually strip the ice from Antarctica to focus on the bedrock beneath. When they looked at this layer, they found evidence of the continent's history as part of Gondwana, a supercontinent made of the upper mantle, the layer of the planet beneath the crust, may be due to an ancient mantle plume. Now, mantle plumes are places in the mantle where hot blobs of rock rise like lumps in a lava lamp. They can sometimes lead to the formation of volcanoes. The Antarctic mantle plume would date back to sometime in the last 66 million years, according to the researchers. Number 5. The Piri-Reis Map. The Piri-Reis Map is a strange little artifact drawn on gazelle skin parchment and measuring roughly 35 by 24 inches. The map, created by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri-Reis in 1513, is currently in pieces, but the surviving sections depict various parts of the world as understood by 16th century cartographers. Among the regions shown on the map, one of the most intriguing is the depiction of what appears to be the northern coast of Antarctica. But this depiction of Antarctica on the Piri-Reis map has sparked considerable debate. The continent is shown connected to South America, a professor and historian who suggested that the Piri-Reis map might be based on materials that predate 4000 BC, from a time when no known advanced civilizations even existed. Skeptics of Hapgood's theory argue the land masses on the map might not be Antarctica at all. Some cartographers suggest that it could be an exaggerated representation of the South American coastline. They point to modern physical features in both the South American coast and interior that are included on the 16th century map as evidence. Well, despite the controversy, the Piri-Reis map remains a fascinating artifact that does challenge our understanding of historical cartography. If the map is indeed depicting Antarctica, it raises profound questions. It suggests the possibility of advanced knowledge and technology long before recorded history. Number 4. The dry valleys. In the farthest reaches of the world, where everything is white with blinding snow and ice, the McMurdo Dry Valleys of Antarctica stand as only a smattering of wildlife. Antarctica is not a hopelessly barren wasteland. Each year, between 1,000 to 5,000 people, mostly researchers and scientists, brave this hostile environment, inhabiting the unique town, quote-unquote, of McMurdo Station. From this central hub, researchers have made groundbreaking discoveries, from water samples of blood falls revealing microbes with metabolic processes never before witnessed, to bacteria hiding from the dry winds in the interior of rocks. While life indeed thrives, the lack of snow here is not a sign of softness, but the result of 200-mile-per-hour katabatic winds. These winds, sucked down into the valleys by gravity, heat up as they pound towards the ground, evaporating any moisture in their wake. This valley does defy the typical image of Antarctica's snow-covered landscape. It represents a paradox in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Researchers continue to study this unique region to understand better how life can survive in such harsh conditions, and that may be many miles deep. It is one of only 5 such lava lakes that exist in the world. While inside Mount Erebus is extremely hot, the outside is frigid with Antarctic temperatures. The snow-covered volcano is riddled with ice caves carved out by escaping volcanic gases. These gases keep the ice caves at a consistent 32 degrees Fahrenheit, making them a likely spot for undiscovered extremophiles. The volcanic gases heat their way through these ice caves and escape into the air to form enormous 60-foot chimneys of ice, or fumaroles, with deadly volcanic gases pouring out from their tips. Discovered in 1841 by polar explorer Sir James Clark Ross, Mount Erebus was easy to identify as a volcano because it was erupting at the time. Later, polar explorer Ernest Shackleton made the first ascent of Mount Erebus between 1907 and 1909 during the Nimrod expedition. One of the things that makes Erebus significant, and the reason it's the location of the Mount Erebus Volcano Observatory, old a day, all of it dissolved in the volcanic gases. This phenomenon adds to the unique character of Mount Erebus, illustrating the complex and awe-inspiring processes that happen within our planet. Number 2. Ice fish. Oftentimes, the most astounding scientific discoveries are made entirely by accident. It was 3 in the morning, February 2021, and marine biologist Lillian Boehringer of the Alfred Wegener Institute in Germany was keeping vigil in the camera room on board the research vessel Polar Stern, watching live images of the Antarctic seafloor roll by every 20 seconds. More than 1,000 feet beneath the ice floes, Boehringer saw something unusual: teeming ice fish nests ringed with stones. The structures continued non-stop for 4 hours as the camera drifted along. Ice fish inhabit the deep waters of the Southern Ocean, also known as the Antarctic Ocean. And since it encircles that particular continent, there are relatively few. Because of this, their blood is nearly clear. Ice fish blood not only lacks hemoglobin, but it also contains a unique array of antifreeze proteins that allow the fish to survive in low temperatures. Similar to antifreeze in a car radiator, these substances function by chemically lowering the temperature at which the freezing happens. In the ice fish, this antifreeze protein restricts the growth of ice crystals in tissue, including blood, and in hollow structures like the heart and blood vessels. This opens exciting avenues for medical researchers, who are experimenting with using antifreeze proteins to prevent damage to tissues and organs stored on ice before their use in transplant and related procedures. According to researcher Kristen O'Brien, what it did do is force an extensive remodeling of the ice fish cardiovascular system. This evolutionary tweak resulted in the fish having 4 times the blood volume and 3 times the blood vessel diameter of a similarly sized red-blooded fish. This means that although ice fish blood pressure and heart rates are low, the Doomsday Glacier, so named because its collapse could cause catastrophic sea level rise. Researchers have discovered that the Thwaites Glacier started retreating rapidly in the 1940s, according to a new study that provides alarming insights into future melting. The Thwaites Glacier in western Antarctica is the world's widest and roughly the size of Florida. Scientists knew it had been losing ice at an accelerated rate in the 1970s, but because satellite data only goes back a few decades, they didn't know exactly when significant melting began. By analyzing marine sediment cores extracted from beneath the ocean floor, researchers found that the glacier began to significantly retreat in the 1940s, likely kicked off by a very strong El Niño event, a natural climatic fluctuation that tends to have a warming impact. Since then, the glacier has been unable to recover. What happens to Thwaites will have global reverberations. The glacier already contributes 4% of sea level rise as it sheds billions of tons of ice a year into the ocean, which scientists also found started rapidly retreating in the 1940s. To build a picture of Thwaites' life over the past nearly 12,000 years, the scientists took an icebreaker vessel up close to the edge of the glacier to collect ocean sediment cores from a range of depths. These cores provide a historical timeline, with each layer yielding information about the ocean and going back thousands of years. By scanning and dating the sediments, the scientists were able to pinpoint when the substantial melting began. The findings are alarming because they suggest that once big changes are triggered, it's very hard to stop them. Once the ice sheet begins to retreat, there's no telling when it will stop. It cannot go on for just weeks or months, but for decades. Simply put, it stops when it stops. While similar retreats have happened much further back in the past, the ice sheet recovered and regrew. However, these glaciers show no signs of recovery. Ted Scambos, a glaciologist at the University of Colorado Boulder, said that the study confirmed